All right, welcome everyone. Akasha here, Nana Akasha, and thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited because this is our second show with Maria Wheatley. Hi, Maria. Hi, Mark. Thanks for saying hi. And we're going to have a little bit of a different topic, but we are going to talk again about the Avalon retreat in Glastonbury in October. So I hope you'll join us because Maria is going to be showing us some amazing things. And what I love the most about Maria so far, as I get to know her, is her deep wisdom, her deep experience. It's not just theory, and it's not just a few years of working with this. She lives there and has a really deep history. So, like you know, everywhere I go, I like to find the secret places, the places other people don't know about, and we never go as tourists. We always go in a sacred way. So be sure you watch the show yesterday that I did because it was really fun. We jumped into talking about pilgrimages and some of the steps that you take when you go on a pilgrimage. And we went on a little bit of a pilgrimage. So check that out. And we will start now. I'm going to share my screen so I can share a little bit more about Maria because she has an incredibly vast history and incredible experience. Hi, Anitag from Jamaica. How are you, sweetie? Okay, so here we go. All right. So what we're doing today is make sure that you subscribe because if you subscribe at nanakasha.com, you're going to get reminders for all of these. You're going to get changes. You're going to get a lot of other things. And we're doing some really incredible master classes coming up next week for and around the solstice. So if you are interested in the retreat, of course, please reach out and ask me. I'm happy to chat with you about it. I know that one of the things that happens is not just logistics. How do I get there? What does it mean? But there's a lot of other things that come up when you decide to go on a soul quest, when you decide to step on your path, when you hear that calling. And when you go with me, you know, that's what we're doing. We're doing things in a sacred way. We're finding all these beautiful spots. And that's one of the reasons why I love that we're going to have Maria here with us because she has the most experience of anybody I have met in this area. And we are going to be going to one day, our first day, we're going to be spending, and we already did a show. So make sure you look here. There's a playlist all about Avalon and everything that I've done from channeling Morgan Le Fay, Merlin, Lady of the Lake, and the other things that we're doing. Also, we talked to Maria a few weeks ago about Glastonbury, where we're going to be learning dowsing, doing chakra alignments, and going to the Abbey and the tour and a lot of the other sacred places. So now we're going to talk about the final part of the retreat, the last part, or what is called part 3 on the page. And we're going to be going to Avebury, which is I think it's the largest stone circle, but Maria can correct me. And we're going to be going to some place called West Kennett Long Barrow, Silbury Hill, and some other things. So we're going to be getting some of the inside secrets. So I want you to know a little bit more about Maria first. Her father is very well-known dowser, so she's a second-generation dowser, and she specializes dowsing for geodetic systems of earth energies, ley lines, and lost civilizations. And she's expanded on the original system, which she inherited and noted certain feminine earth energies that emit healing, hertz frequencies. And there's a lot of things that she talks about that are really interesting with the different currents, the spirals, geospirals, and other things. So these dynamic discoveries by her father, Chinese geomance, and a European master dowser. And she's teaching her daughter, Raven. I love it. To be a third-generation dowser. Oh, what a lucky girl. So in 2015, she discovered the long-lost elongated-headed people. If you're familiar, many of you have probably seen the long-skulled people from Egypt. And this was kind of a new thing that they had discovered them. I think it was in the 30s, but nobody really looked into it. So across the British Isles, Europe, Stonehenge, and the lost shaman and shield makers, maidens, oh my goodness, I love that, of prehistoric Britain, and how to enhance seed germination with earth energies, as well as breathtaking astronomical and celestial alignments at sacred sites, and to the musical harmonics. And there's also color that I know that she's found. And I know the other thing too that's interesting is we all think about these sacred sites aligning with the sun, but Maria has found some lunar alignments that are quite incredible. So she's a druid, and her heart lies with her Celtic past and heritage. She also has an affinity with ancient Egypt, where she discovered an incredible ley system and divine feminine earth energies at Abydos and Hathor's temple. And she's doused in 17 different countries and coined the phrase yin water to describe Gaia's deep waters that emit powerful surface patterns and energy line flows. And she's recently discovered the multiple geospiral energy patterns, a yin earth energy system, and how the planets enhance their energies. Now, if that's all like, I don't know what you're talking about, that's okay. That's why Maria's here to share this in more human language. But as you know, I'm an energy worker, and I've studied all these different things. And the most interesting thing is that when you go in person to sacred sites, whether it's a cave or a grove or a temple or a pyramid, there are energies there that the ancients understood, and they put these there to enhance them, to use them for different things, and they're not all the same. And that's what a lot of people think is, let's just go touch this stone, let's go touch that stone, and there's a whole deeper thing going on here. She's an international speaker who runs tours to ancient sites, Egypt, Malta, and ancient America, and hosts one-to-one tours in small and large groups. And her dowsing skills and profound understanding of Gaia's energies makes her a world leader for over 35 years. She's studied Neolithic, Bronze Age, and Iron Age at Oxford and Bath, and with expert astrologers, and has spoken on numerous radio shows, podcasts, BBC, Channel 4, History, Nippon, Gaia TV, if any of you have that, I do, as well as Project Camelot and Basis TV. And she's a qualified past life regression therapist, a tarot card reading, and past life astrological readings. And I just had one of those with her. So I highly recommend that. Very interesting, completely different system that she's discovered. And if you know Dolores Cannon, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful spiritual teacher, she was a sacred site guide for her. So you can find her at esotericcollege.com. And she's got a lot of amazing courses there. aveburyexperience.co.uk, and also, I guess we don't have it here, Maria Wheatley. Is it .com?
.uk.
.uk. Okay. So there we go. Now we know a little bit about you from that. And welcome. Thank you so much for being here again.
It's good to be back. Thank you.
So let's dive in wherever you want to go first. I know that the day we're going to be in Avebury. So we're going to be in Glastonbury for 6 days, I think. And then we're going to move over to Avebury. And we're going to be staying right there so we can go out at night in the stones. We can work with the stars. And we're going to be working with a lot of the different energies there. However, when Maria comes to be with us, I think we're going to go to West Kennett first. And then Silbury Hill, and then come back to Avebury. So you pick where you would like to start talking.
Well, when a lot of people go to Avebury, they really don't know the chronological order. That means the date in which they were built. Avebury and Stonehenge and numerous ancient sites always start in different phases. So we're going to be looking at the various different phases and stages and the growth of the monument that culminated in incorporating the largest stone circle in the world. But there's stone circles at Avebury. But we are going to start at West Kennett Long Barrow. That's one of the most oldest ceremonial monuments in the landscape. It dates back 5,500 years, and it's absolutely atmospheric and incredible. And the long-skulled people that I discovered of the area and far besides, they were the ones that built these monuments called the Long Barrows and some other sites as well. But in the Avebury environs, the oldest is West Kennett, and that's where we will find the Long Skull people. So we'll be going back into the ancient past, into the Neolithic, into the very beginnings, and the seed of all the ceremonial landscapes has its genesis in Long Barrows. And so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to have a look at the earth energies there, because I discovered many different types of earth energies there, and other master dowsers that I doused with there as well, going back to 88. He discovered an earth energy current there, and we'll be having a look at that as well. But we are going inside of an ancestral monument. So we will have a little bit of a preparation before we do that, and we'll be stepping back in time. So imagine that you're stepping in the footsteps of these ancient ancestral people going back 5,500 years. That's steeped in history, but more than that, it's interacting with the stones of the West Kennett Long Barrow and the energies of West Kennett Long Barrow, and they can be quite transformative.
Now, explain what a long barrow is, because I know when I first started researching, I was like, oh, they said, oh, they're burial mounds. And I'm like, I like to go to ancient places, but is that true? And if it is true, what else is going on there?
If we imagine, like I said at the beginning, these monuments have different phases. Phase 1 of West Kennett Long Barrow is where the inner chambers were used for healing. Now, what is a long barrow? Let's go back to your first question. And the long barrow is a monument that is literally a long mound like this. And in the Avebury environs, they're megalithic, and you can enter them. Children describe them as caves. They like say it's like going into a cave. It's going into a sensory deprivation. There was hardly any light in these chambers. They emit very healing earth energy. So if there's anything one would like to heal, we can focus on that in particular chamber. So it's a long mound, earthen mound, that has a small area that has internal megalithic chambers in the Avebury environs. And then there was around, that's 5,500 years ago, around 2,500 BC, that's 4,500 years ago, the ancients started to place bones in them, the skulls and the long bones, and sometimes a whole individual that was pulled taut into the fetal position, and they were placed within the long barrows. But that was at its final phase. Acoustically, they've been tested out, and they have acoustic properties as well. So we're going to step back in time to think of when there was the healing chambers there. But we will honor the ancestors that have been found there. I've got reconstructions of their skulls, pictures of them, photographs of them. We will get closer to the ancestors than most tools.
Oh, fantastic. So that's what I love, because these are the kinds of things you don't learn from regular tourist tours and that, because we do go in a sacred way. And so, of course, there's transformation, there's healing, there's remembering that happens, and all of that. So is there a particular alignment that they built these towards? Sun, moon, or anything?
The alignments at West Kennett are, for example, at the equinox, you can have a sunrise event, but unfortunately a stone got concreted into the ground. It was a former blocking stone. I'll describe that when we're there, and that blocks any equinox alignment. But originally it would have gone, the sunlight at sunrise would have illuminated the far chamber, but we cannot see that today. And there are some star alignments associated with West Kennett Long Barrow. Sirius, for example, is another one. So they do have a lot of alignments, plus ley courses down it and earth currents. different energy patterns. So it's literally layer after layer of activity there. So yes, it was aligned, but we can't see that today. We must remember that a lot of the stones at Avebury have been reconcreted in the restoration of the monument. So I'll be taking you to some stones that are called in situ. They're in place. They've never been concreted in the ground, for example. In the restoration phase, we'll be going to the purest parts of Avebury Henge to experience the most powerful energies therein.
Amazing. Isn't that unfortunate that they blocked that alignment? Wow. So what about the acoustics? Like when you go in and we can do toning or chanting or different things, how does that unique place vibrate or shift?
Yes, it was found, for example, that there's a very powerful stone at the far end of the chamber that is quite inconspicuous, actually. You wouldn't think there was anything quite dynamic about it. But it has been found by researchers that if you are outside of the West Kennett Long Barrow and you have a bull roarer, that's a Neolithic kind of instrument that you go around. So I bring a bull roarer, and you have the bull roarer being played out outside of the monument, and then some people feel that their frequencies, their energies change, and some people see the far stone open up a little bit like a portal, but you have to be in the right place to be able to see that. But we're trying to reenact, as it were, that process and have the bull roarer outside. It does change your consciousness. It will bring it up to a kind of high energetic zone because of the frequency of the bull roarer.
Fantastic. Yes, that's what we want. Definitely, that's what we want. So the nice thing is that we can go early. We can go before anyone else is there. Because it is open, not like a lot of the Mayan sites we go to where they have a lot of people making rules around when you're allowed to go there. So that was really, really exciting. So what else about West Kennett is special, that you really like?
It's placed within the landscape where every Neolithic monument is intervisible. That means you can see another Neolithic monument in the ceremonial landscape. So they are all intervisible at any one time. And you can see other monuments from West Kennett Long Barrow, such as Silbury Hill, another Neolithic monument that's on a hillside. And then part of what's called the head of the Avebury Temple in an antiquarian's model. He called it a serpent temple. It's quite inaccurate, really, to think of it like that because he drew part of it incorrectly. But nonetheless, there's the head of the serpent temple, as he called it, that's intervisible as well. So that was, again, partly Neolithic. So all those ancient monuments, 5,500 years old, can be seen from one another.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So anything else about that particular site that people can start to tune into?
Well, as I take people up the site, I can easily find sacred ochre, hematite. And I've noticed that around where you have ancient sites, you get a lot of ochre. And I pick that for people. And it's normally quite a golden color in this area. And it's very beautiful. It was used as paint, I believe, as I point out in my latest book, The Secret History of Stonehenge. I think some parts of the stones and particular parts of the monuments were brightly painted in particular patterns. So I think they were mixing ochre with natural substances to make it paint. And paint pots have been found in Orkney that demonstrate this as well.
Yeah, ochre. I remember ochre from my art days. The color.
Lovely.
The paint color. So amazing. So is there anything else unusual about the reason that they picked that particular spot? You know, there's so many vortexes, lines, currents, and earth energies, and I think you call them earth gateways. And the whole landscape that Maria is talking about includes Stonehenge and a lot of the other places. These were all connected in a certain way. that they work together at some point, I believe.
Yeah, Avebury's quite unique. It is connected, which I've done a lot of work on one particular line that it connects it to Avebury. But Avebury stands a little bit sort of outside of the mold, if you will, because it has circular lays associated with it that later became Christianized with having churches placed on them. But I will be showing you a very powerful lay that goes from Avebury to Stonehenge and links numerous ancient sites along that line, but more than that. If you draw circles around, and I'll show you this on the map, it's much easier to see it visually, and you have a circle going around all of those known points like Stonehenge, like Avebury, like Mardenhenge, and numerous other ones beside, it becomes a planisphere of the heavens above. So we can say that Stonehenge equates to a particular planet, as does Avebury, and you have all of the planets of the solar system in this one ley line. And that's very, very powerful because the ancients knew the mean distance from Silbury Hill and projected in the heavens, the mean distance to Mercury, to Venus, to Mars, to Jupiter, and so on. And so we have this massive planetary ley system there. And we're going to be tuning into the sun and the moon at Avebury Henge because that's its power center. And the beautiful earthen mound, the mother mound, as she's known as, Silbury Hill, that represents Earth on that planisphere ley system.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, this is so amazing when you think about what I know I was taught growing up is that the ancients were stupid and we're so much more advanced than they are. And we can't even, replicate really the accuracy with which they did most of these things or figure out how they moved the stones. So, all right. So that's interesting. So Silbury Hill represents the Earth. And what are the other planets?
Well, one of the interesting points on that map is a place called Mardenhenge. It was a super henge. It was actually bigger than Avebury at one point, but little exists of it today. But den is an old English word for settlement, farmstead, and we now have Marden, the settlement of Mars. So you can equate through ancient names, which I've done a lot of research on, and to these places. And when we go into a site such as, or even stand in the energetic field of Silbury Hill, and I'm going to show you something spectacular about it when I'm there, that what it did originally. We'll save that, no spoilers here. We're going to really be going into an energy field. And so when we leave West Kennett, for example, you can see Silbury Hill from West Kennett, but we're going to be entering the energy field of the most powerful feminine force within that ceremonial landscape. So that's very poignant by itself. And I'm sure that we're all going to be able to feel that energy field way before we actually go close to Silbury Hill, and I'll reveal some of its secrets when I'm with you. But it is very, very beautiful. It's an energy that is quite powerful but quite gentle at the same time, and it's a wonderful ancient site. It's the largest man-made mound in Northwest Europe.
Oh. Yeah, I know it's interesting because it just looks like a mound, and I know that we have mounds in the U.S. These intentional mounds, and in many different places. And here, I'm not sure the Mayan. When we're on top of a pyramid and we look over the jungle, we'll see what looks like a mound, but it's usually a pyramid that's just been grown over by a lot of the jungle at that point. So let's share a little bit more about it, because I know when I first looked and it said, oh, you can't climb it anymore, I sort of thought, okay.
No, it's really good that we do not climb Silbury Hill because it's made of chalk. And if people keep carrying on the path, that will have to be infilled with man-made materials because it's subject to erosion. So we don't need to climb to the top to tune into an energy zone. We really don't. We can tune in from the bottom, and then preserve that monument for our children and our children's children. And that's very important because it is delicate. So I understand fully why English Heritage and the National Trust deny people going up there. If you had thousands of people going up there a year, it would be destroyed.
Yeah. Well, that was what was so exciting about meeting Maria and talking to her about this, because I wasn't sure that this was a good place to go for us. And then she said what you just said, like, oh no, there's some very powerful energies. So is the idea that it's the earth, that it's feminine, that, you know, that there's some very powerful feminine energies related to that idea of Gaia, or the idea of the sacred mother?
It's where as well, yes, it's always been deemed the Mother Earth to really across time. You can go back to very early sources, and it was, you know, one of the wonders of ancient Britain, deemed a feminine mother mound and a beacon mound. And it's built in a particular way where it's layered with different forms of material. And it's been deduced that that's a layer of organic material, inorganic, organic, and inorganic, which is exactly what Wilhelm Reich did for his healing Reich machines, for example. I've taken, with permission, to go to the top of Silbury Hill. I took some measurements with a retired engineer and colleague of mine, part of my Dragon team that looks into ancient sites to prove what I say about megalithic energy and earth energy. And we got the electrostatic field measurement at the top was 1,000 times greater than at the bottom. And I wrote about this in my book, Divine in Ancient Science, because it really does generate an energy field. And what people think about stone circles is that the energy is contained within the stone circle or within the mound. It isn't. It's being released outwards. And especially at Silbury Hill Mother Mound, it releases its energy field, which can be measured outwards. And that goes out for, oh my goodness, about, 100 or so meters. So it's very vast, about 300 feet or so. So it really is very powerful. And like I say, we tune in, we always ask permission to tune in and understand that these places can allow us to experience what we need to experience at these sites. They open up our heart minds.
Yeah. Is there a chakra sort of alignment in any of these? I know that in the last show we talked about the Abbey in Glastonbury having the ley lines and the earth currents and Michael and Mary, but that there's actually sort of this chakra alignment that we're going to do along there. Do these sites have, oftentimes here they'll say, oh, the Tulum ruins, the ancient pyramids, there are the throat chakra, and this other one's something else.
Yes, you can project that. A lot of people just project these into a line, and if there's 7 monuments, there's 7. I'd actually say in the Avebury landscape, you cannot do that because so many monuments have been destroyed. So just north of Avebury, there was a much better stone circle, a concentric stone circle containing very, very large, powerful assassin stones. And that was the Temple of Venus. Well, that was destroyed in 1724. And again, I cover that in Divine and Ancient Sites. So if we do project these things onto the landscape, sometimes I think they're real, and sometimes I think they're just a modern projection. And Avebury doesn't really fall into that because it has a unique landscape of its own. It does have earth currents there. And it does have different types of earth energies that we'll be experiencing. But more than that, different types of stone. I've been to numerous stone circles across Europe, from Sardinia to Ireland, and literally all over the Europe and far, far beyond. And I started to notice particular types of stone, how they were carved. And you could go to one part of the world and you could go to another part of the world and you get a particular type of carved stone. We're going to be looking, if we have time, at that stone because that balances the chakra system. So I think the ancients weren't saying walk here, go there, go here, following a chakra line. They were saying it's here and it's designed in a particular way and manner, and we can interact with our chakra systems there. And it is very, very soothing. I've taken hundreds of people to that stone that have received healing, and even just a feeling of belonging, some people say, a feeling of belonging, coming home, coming back to their Celtic heritage. So these stones can trigger different things from our past lives to our future as well, because time isn't linear. And I know the power stones there, so we can have a look at some of them in our day at Avebury.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing how these energies, of course, through time, like you said, some of them have been restored or wrapped in concrete or restored incorrectly. And we have a very specific mindset that we've been trained in and want things straight. And a lot of times the stones were intentionally angled and for different reasons. Can you talk about that a little?
The first theory that came out about the shapes of stones goes back to the 1930s with the excavator and archaeologist Alexander Keeler, and he projected this to the Stonehenge environs as well. And that's where you get a diamond-shaped stone that is said to be feminine, yin, and a more phallic column-like stone is said to be yang. But I think there's far, far more subtle qualities going on at Avebury than just labeling something masculine or feminine, because in particular light, in particular times of the day, we start to see faces come alive on the stones that have been subtly carved. So for me, yes, you can call them male and female stones, but I think there's far, far more going on. And the whole of the Avebury area was mapped in about the 1990s, I believe, to look for these faces, and they are quite powerful, especially when it's like coming face to face with one of the ancestors. And bear in mind, they were subtly carving them. Were they carving them because they knew that it was a family member? Was it a god or a goddess? We can use our sensitivity by touching the stones and coming to our own conclusions with our own experiences that will be triggered by these stones. It isn't a case of one shoe fits all.
Yeah, yeah. So Silbury Hill was, you said, a 7-step pyramid. Is that the layers that they built, the different stone?
No, if you imagine on the inside, you've got this layering technique, yeah. And then on the outside, it almost kind of capped with chalk, solid white chalk. It was then made into a 7-step pyramid, but then it was smoothed off. So it's all a part of its integral design. It wasn't a pyramid at one point. That was part of its construction process. For example, they wanted it smoothed off. And originally there was a spiral pathway that went around it, a bit like at Glastonbury Tor. You wouldn't have walked straight up like we do today. You would have gone round the Tor, and you would have gone around Silbury Hill as well, rather, in a spiral fashion manner. So the way that people interact with mounds today, I think, is very, very different from how we used to interact with them. I've been to Cahokia in Illinois quite some times, and I was there just last year, and I feel the same for the Monk's Mount there. It's the largest mound in America, in that part of America, and the base of that platform mound, so it's like a slight stepped pyramid, is the same size at its base of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's not the same height, but the base is the same as well. So we have numerous mounds across the world, all of which I feel were entered within a spiral manner, following particular types of earth energies, which are indeed, which are unique to each landscape. It's not that every mound will have that particular energy, but it will have ways in which we can enter these sites in a beautiful sacred manner.
Incredible. So when they smoothed it off, was that, do you feel that was around the feminine, because it was this feminine place, that smooth outer instead of something linear?
Well, in the ancient world, from ancient China to this land and beyond, the hills in China, the whole landscape was sculptured, so that when the Westerners started going there for trade purposes in the 17th century and the 18th century, they commented on how beautiful and harmonic imperial China was, ancient China, because in their mindset, if a hill was too masculine in the landscape and it needed its feminine energy to balance it off, then they would round it off like a breast, like a pregnant belly, if you will. It would be one or the other. And Silbury Hill falls into that category. But I do think part of the landscape surrounding Avebury has been sculptured like it was in ancient China, and likewise for the Stonehenge environs as well. If you've got a good geomancer's eye around Stonehenge, you notice that in the far distance you have a hill, and it's got like the head of the goddess, and then there's a little gap, and then you have the pregnant belly of the goddess, then you have her legs. It's called the goddess in the landscape, and that is associated with numerous stone circles that have been thoroughly researched by a colleague of mine.
Amazing. So amazing. Wow. So did they leave it white, or did they paint it or decorate it in any way?
It's so huge. It covers 5 acres of land. It is really, really big. I mean, when you look at it on, YouTube or Google, it's not going to give it. People get overwhelmed when they meet the mother in the land, because she is huge. So I think in this instance, it probably would have been finished off in white, but it may have been painted for particular times of the year, ceremonies. But to keep that completely painted would be one big job by itself. So I think, yes, it was gleaming. And I think it was gleaming chalk white as well. And it originally had a moat all around it. And that moat would have been filled with water all year round, and its mirror image would have fitted perfectly at the end of the moat. So you'd have seen a double Silbury in the landscape. And then every Lammas full moon, which represents the first day of harvest, August the 1st, thereabouts, the Lammas Celtic Fire Festival, the moon in its fullness can be seen above Silbury Hill. So the moon relates very much to the sister mound as well, bringing her feminine grace to the equation as well as the water. This is a feminine element of water as well, of earth, and it would have been gleaming chalk white. It would have been a sight to behold.
My goodness. And I think that you've talked about that at Stonehenge too, that the henge, or the what's kind of like a ditch around these, was in the chalk, and that as you approach, you wouldn't actually have seen the stones.
Yes, no, it's not the ditch. You're halfway there. You're describing a henge, and the henge is the ditch, and then the big bank. Yeah.
Oh, the bank.
So if you imagine it's got a ditch, that's where you'd have got the material from to build the bank. Then surrounding Stonehenge, you'd have had a 6 or a 10-foot wall of white chalk. The only thing you'd have seen approaching Stonehenge would have been the top part of what's called the Greater Trilithon. It was a secretive place. In fact, when we come to Avebury Henge, it has a huge henge, one of the biggest, second only to Marden Henge, that I previously described. And again, it is so, so vast. And what I discovered there for my best-selling book on Avebury, which we'll be able to see, not at an event, but we'll be able to see how powerful shadow lines are. Because what I discovered was that certain stones align and create these massive shadows. Previous to my discovery, there had been another author, Terence Meaden, that had looked into the shadow alignments, but I extended his work because I know Avebury like no other. And I suddenly thought, I think there's a bit more going on to it than that. So I added to that and made my own discoveries there. And they are very, very dark if the angle of the sun, and obviously a clear night to boot. And we can imagine that these huge, long, dark lines were racing across Avebury, and I proved with a local archdruid that used to be the archdruid of Avebury. He sadly passed, Terence Dobney, and I had a big winter solstice ceremony where I said to everybody, we're going to watch this shadow race towards us and to touch us as well. And so we have things that we can re-experience that our ancients incorporated into it. So it wasn't just moon alignments, it wasn't just sun and star alignments, it was shadow lines as well. And if we go to a stone circle further north in the country, set in what's called the Lake District, it's very, very beautiful, in Cumbria, then the tallest stone in the Lake District stone circle, called Castle Rig, casts a shadow 2 miles long because it's on sloping ground, and ancient sites are aligned upon that. So again, it's not just ley lines that have ancient sites sited upon them, it's shadow lines as well. And there's different ways that we can work with these in ceremonies and in meditations as well that I will elaborate upon.
It's amazing when you think about even just that they built something in alignment to the equinox sunrise. That in and of itself, I live very close to a place called Silbury Hill that has a temple that at the equinox, the sun rises right through there. And it was an initiation site. It would hit you right here. And we were able to do that. They open it sometimes very early pre-dawn and let in a small group of people, and they line you up. So they're like, okay, it's going to be here. And we were able to experience it 7 times because it rose, and then we would move forward and it would rise again and we would move forward. But then you think about it's also that they have the lunar alignments and the earth energies and the shadows, and it's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Okay, let's go to Avebury. So tell us a little bit about what we can experience there. And yeah.
Avebury is gentle. She is so, so gentle and healing, and she can increase your intuition, your psychic side, bring you in touch for some by particular stones to your soul's divine purpose. I have taken thousands of people around Avebury, and she's a game changer. She can change, your life by bringing you more in touch with who you already are, with your soul's divine purpose. And we can realize that is one part of Avebury on its kind of very deep feminine side. And then it does have a very gentle masculine side as well. And it has a place where we can have balance within it as well. So Avebury is many things at any one time, because people didn't come to Avebury just once. They would come time and time again at different times of the eightfold year, the equinoxes, the solstices, Beltane, Lammas, Samhain and Imbolc, for example, those sacred 8 days of the year, the Sabbats as they're called here. And then you get different energies activated, different stones are activated. So it's not just one temple for one particular time, if you see what I mean. It's a seasonal temple that has different expressions at different times of the year, as does Stonehenge and numerous other stone circles beside. So depending on what the group wants to experience, depending on where we want to go within the temple, we always tend to have a discussion beforehand, see what people want, and then we can go to that particular area because there's a lot going on at any one site. What I love about Avebury is the avenue there of standing stones. There was once 200, 100 paired, that would lead you from one part of the monument to the other. And again, there was 4 avenues there, all megalithic, that would take you to different parts of the monument. And one particular avenue takes you to the Guardian Stone, and where the Guardian Stone has been carved, and it looks quite powerful. And if we have time, we will go to that stone. And again, unless you know it's there, it's kind of inconspicuous because you wouldn't necessarily interact with that part of the monument. Then we will look at for other subtle carvings as well, which are the eyes of the goddess are carved into one stone. And it's said that if you speak truth, you can enter that part of the monument, but you can't speak untruths there because stones can get aggressive in our mythology. And there's one stone circle in North Wales, which has the Druid stone there, and it has the stone of destiny there. And if anybody lied or swore or was uncouth in any one way, you'd be, literally told off and beaten up, some would say, by a stone. Somebody scoffed at that at the turn of the last century. They scoffed at all of these mythologies, went into the circle and was swearing and being quite unpleasant. And in the morning, he was found by the side of the stone and he had passed over. So I think the stones have powers and they love us to be respectful and kind and humble. And so when we go into that part of the monument through the eyes of the goddess, it's about, what do we want to release in that part? What do we want to let go of? So we can do numerous different things in different parts of the monument if that's what the group would want to do. So that part is about release, for example, under the watchful eyes of the goddess and under the watchful eye of the guardian old.
Wow. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So these weren't places where people lived. No. They went there. Was it like a pilgrimage or was it more like a cycle, like just part of their life, like you said, following the seasons or the different cosmic alignments?
There were people living nearby in a settlement that is in quite close proximity, probably about, a mile and a half away, 3 kilometers away. And same at Stonehenge, about 3 kilometers, 1.5 miles away, you've got Durrington Walls. That's where people lived. Then you have a part of Avebury that no longer exists because it was timber, and that's called the Palisade Enclosures, and that's where the priesthood probably would have resided. The rest of the monument was open to the skies, and it was used probably in seasonal times by the priesthood and by participants. The great thing about Avebury is you can fit, it has been calculated, up to 2,000 people in that monument. At Stonehenge, you can only fit in about 96 comfortably because it's much, much smaller. Stonehenge has a diameter of 108 feet across. Avebury has, in stark contrast to Stonehenge, a diameter of 1,088 feet. So you can fit 10 Stonehenges into Avebury alone. That's the difference in size and scale. So could you imagine being there in the height of the Neolithic and the Bronze Ages with 2,000 people set with the right intent, probably being guided by a priesthood there? We know it was a priesthood because they were buried in mounds that surround Avebury and Stonehenge, all with that intent. It must have been one of the most powerful places on earth.
And do you believe that these are older than what they've been allowing people to say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what I noticed, for example, along with a colleague of mine that's an author on Silbury Hill, is that independent carbon dating, using any carbon that is found on what's called the old surface level, can be dated, sometimes accurately, sometimes not as accurately. But he had his sample analysed independently, and that came to 12,000 BC. So you're on par with the sites in Turkey, such as Göbekli Tepe, for example, and other sites within that ceremonial site. So I think some of the parts of the ceremonial landscape are equally as old as the oldest in the world.
Yeah, I think so too. I know that they find things here in Mexico and Honduras, the ancient Mayan things that have been dated 30 and 50,000 years old. But they don't want to, scholars don't want to agree with that. So it seems to be changing. It seems to be there's more language or more people talking about that in different places around the planet. That sort of idea that we can't be older than a few thousand or 5,000 or something like that. So yeah, that's my sense too. It's just so much mystery, so much power. So some of the aspects that I've read about with Avebury and other circles like this is that they could have a piezoelectric effect, and certain times energies could come in, activate the crystals in the stones, create perhaps portals or openings or different lasers. I'm not sure what the right words are. What are some of the things that you can share about that?
Yeah, I've looked into that in my Avebury book, into the piezoelectrical effects of standing stones. We must remember that the ones at Avebury are, a lot of them are concreted in, so you're going to get a much lesser effect. But if one is in situ, for example, and hasn't been re-erected and set in concrete, when a celestial body passes over the horizon, for example, you get what's called the shear force effect. And imagine that as to be like a wave on the seashore, which goes out and comes in, it goes out and it comes in. That when the celestial object passes over the horizon line, then you are going to get a megalith bathed in that type of energy. But it's very weak today because of the restoration. Some of the stones at Stonehenge that haven't been swamped in concrete, they are exceptionally powerful with that. And so it's just knowing which stones you could experience that at. But Stonehenge is the master of that, I would say, because the stones are exceptionally tall. They're much smaller at Avebury. And they haven't been what's called made into a lozenge shape. That means they haven't been programmed as much, so that they are more there. But nonetheless, this is what the ancients were doing. And you have a piezoelectric effect when you're near a fault line as well. So all stone circles are sited near a fault line. I mean, when you go to Egypt, you can actually see the fault line. It's called F1. You can see it in the landscape if you know which part of the pyramid to walk around. So most ancient sites were sited next to these to create a dramatic effect that could be felt by people. That is for sure.
That's another thing I found interesting is different, like you said, different planets coming up or down the horizon, have a different energy that they release from the stones or through the landscape.
Yeah, it would only be the sun and moon for the piezoelectrical effect. You need a really big body, like the moon is very, very close to us. When it comes to the planets, for example, at Edfu Temple in 2022 in Egypt, dedicated to Horus, if you will, then Mars, which is Horus in one aspect, was in perfect alignment above that particular temple. And because that's dedicated to Mars, and because it's dedicated to that energy, then they will respond to that. But the ancients encoded planetary signatures in a different way here. When it comes to laying out in the landscape, they used particular types of grid systems, for instance. But we can reenact and we can re-experience these energies by walking around Avebury in a particular manner, by touching the power stones there, the ones that have been in situ, and we can experience megalithic energy. I've become very, very well known for proving megalithic energy exists as well. So I can show you all of the experiments and how it builds up in the aura day after day. And you don't need, this is where people kind of go wrong at Avebury. They think like a normal therapy, you need an hour therapy. 15 seconds, I can prove to you, can change your auric energy field. We've recorded it. And so we don't need a long time, but people feel that they, want to hold the stones for a long time. Of course you can. It's a wonderful experience. But to have the energy of the stone inside of you, as it were, only needs 15 seconds of interaction. That's how powerful Avebury is.
So what other secrets or what other special things about Avebury do you want to share before we wrap up?
Well, where Avebury is so vast, again, I expect some of your lovely guests and people that want to come are going to look at it on Google. It doesn't give it justice. It's over 3 miles, this temple. It's a huge place. So we're going to be focusing on the stone circles themselves, and we're going to be focusing on what's called an avenue leading into the place, and it has some wonderful power stones there. And we're going to be focusing on West Kennett Long Barrow and Silbury Hill. So they're going to be our go-to places, so to speak. But there's other stones that lie, on the outskirts of Avebury that are equally as powerful, but they're some distance away. So we'll be walking in the footsteps of the ancestors. We'll be going on a spiritual pilgrimage, and we will be interacting with literally the very powerful, life-enhancing, healing, dynamic, changing, alchemic stones that put us in touch with our own divine soul's purpose, and to enjoy and to relax around and to have fun being around the stones. We can have purpose, but I think Avebury brings out a playful, childlike quality within us, where we just want to find our own stone and hug it. I'll also take you to what's called the fairy trees at Avebury as well. They are very, very sacred, and you will just love them. I don't know anyone that doesn't love them. We don't leave any deposits there. We don't leave any offerings. We call that just junk, away. We don't leave anything. Our ancient ancestors never did that. And if you left an amethyst crystal and dedicated to one of my ancestors, they go, well, what's that? We didn't ever use that. We don't know what that is. That comes from a different part of the world. They use their own unique things. So we don't need to leave anything at these places. Just get the sun out of my eyes. We don't need to leave anything at these places. We can leave our love. We can leave our gratitude, and we can leave our thanks and a smile. You are going to enjoy the trees, and you're going to enjoy the stones.
Oh my gosh. I'm vibrating. I'm just like, oh, can we go now? Can we go now? I can't wait. I can't wait until we can beam me up, Scotty, just be like, let's go to Avebury for the day and come home. So, all right, well, let's wrap up with at night, since we are going to be spending 2 nights, just a few minutes outside of the actual circle. So in that landscape. And we'll have the opportunity to go out at night. And there is this rare lunar alignment. It won't be exact when we're there, but it's building for through the next year, right? tell us a little bit about the difference or the things that you can experience at night there.
Well, what I discovered was the major lunar alignment at Avebury and at other places besides, and other stones at Avebury. But we'll be focusing on the main stone circle for that, and it's where the moon does come into alignment. That only happens every 18.61 years. It's called the moon's metonic cycle, and we'll be able to see. I'll point out, roughly speaking, where you would see it in its kind of culmination. But the thing about Avebury at night, like I mentioned earlier, as one walks around the stones, you will see faces in the moonlight. They will take on a form as well. There may be some part of the stone that just lights up for you. That's very common. Excuse me. Well, I might be looking at the stone, Nan might be looking at the same stone, you might be looking at that stone, but it will light up for you, and that's where you would put your hand. So again, the stones are speaking to us. They're communicating with us through the light of the moon, through the darkness of a shadow line, through the glint of the sun at dawn, and with the earth energies below our feet. So again, experience it through you. That's one of the most important things to do. What are the stones guiding you to touch? What are the stones making you feel like? And then that way you might see the light of the stone guiding you to touch it.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. I know there's a lot of clouds, so we're going to be all doing our magic, talking to the clouds and to move out of the way for us, and the rain and all of that. We'll send the rain over here to the Mayans because they don't have any rain while we're over there. So, just pure magic, absolute magic. Well, I see Genevieve is here. Hi, sweetie. I've got these because of my eye surgery. Please forgive me. Fairy trees, oh my goodness, so magical. I know. This is one of my beautiful students and friends who's a pure fairy.
Oh, well, you're going to love the fairy trees. You are going to love those fairy trees, sister.
Oh my gosh, yes, all of the fairy, everything. And I know it's not exactly where we're going to be, but the one long-skulled queen that you found, wasn't that like, I want to say she a fairy, but
yeah, I have proved that they looked, which I'll describe when we're there and show you examples of. They were definitely fae-like, definitely. So when your lovely, beautiful guests come and they can tune in, because I truly believe the Neolithic Queen has communicated across time to me, not just me, those I've introduced her to, so to speak, and these people were fae-like. They had their ears within a different placement, for example. I think that's part of the genesis of the myths, not all of it, it's in its entirety, but it does have grains of truth in it. Our mythological history quite often turns out to be our actual history for those that have an open heart mind and are willing to go beyond the legend into the realms of what I call holy history.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you see that in Greece. They're like, this is the mythical city. And I'm like, what? We're standing in it. This is not mythical if we're standing in it. So
exactly.
Oh, wonderful. Well, one more question. I know that you have some essences, and that you've discovered that there's music or harmonics at these different places, and colors.
Yes. Yeah, we can make up an essence for those that would like to take a little bit of Avebury home with you for healing essence over a very beautiful part of Avebury. So, we can make up a mother tincture that you can take home, and water has beautiful memory, so you can put it into more water and make up some more remedies for your friends and for your families. Yes, on a much deeper level than the earth energies do emit particular what's called the earth colors. They're different from the colors of the sun, which has 12 colors. The earth has 12 colors, but they're a little bit different than the colors of the sun. And they do emit musical harmonics. They emit sound. I did a wonderful workshop at the weekend focusing on the music of Gaia, where we walked a labyrinth in a particular ancient site. And that was absolutely magical. So Pythagoras discovered the music of the spheres, which is the planetary orbits. Legend says that he could hear the harmony of the planets, the spheres. And what I discovered was the harmonics of the earth coming up, as above and so below.
Beautiful. So we have that mirroring again, too. Just so much magic, so many different ways to experience these energies, to raise your consciousness, heal, open, have your own experience. Like Maria said, to go here, we'll be together with our beautiful intimate group. Hi, Cheryl. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Hi, Brittany. Hi, Dee. Cheryl lives in England. She's going to be coming down. And Jillian. Oh, hi, Jillian. I can't see that well at the moment, but my eyes are doing really great. And so between all of this magic that we are happening, what can we do for you, or what could we bring for you, or what kind of intention could we hold for you right now, being such a sacred earth guardian, such a wonderful goddess, bringing this wisdom back for us and bringing the truth back, really?
Well, for me, it always goes back to the ancestors, they who built the monument and left it for us here today. So I always like to think, that when we come over, just to really ask the permission of the ancestors, because when they are close by at Avebury, and I've been there where the gates literally open by itself, and that is true, where it's the ancestors are with you, it makes it even more magical. So for anyone thinking about, intent and that, just tune into the ancestors. They are the wisdom keepers of the land, and they have done so for millennia.
Beautiful. Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. Let's see who else here. Maria, Brittany, I think I said hi to most of you. Thank you for coming. And make sure that you reach out to me if you want to come, if you have any questions, if you need help with logistics or anything else. As you know, everything is possible, especially if your heart is calling you to this. And you can see why I've been so excited to discover Maria. I thought it very interesting. I found her in this very circuitous route when she's actually speaking at the same conference I'm speaking at. I could have just been like, oh, look, there she is. And yet found you in this beautiful way. And what an incredible honor it is to know you. Thank you so much for the work that you've done and you're doing and teaching your daughter, Raven. Woo! I love it. And I'm so looking forward to this magic. So thank you. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And we will... Thank you so much. Blessings, sisters. He always says, thank you, guys. Thank you, all you beautiful stars. And let me know how else we can be of service to all of you. Please enjoy this next week. We've got the solstice coming, the summer solstice. Talk about a fairy event. I'm going to be at a pyramid. I'm going to be at Sibyl Shaltun on the Temple of Venus. And I hope that you will find some kind of a sacred place, whether it's in your own garden or your own room or somewhere near you, to take that energy and enjoy it. What are you doing for the solstice, Maria?
I'm doing a private ceremony with a private group at a beautiful ancient site, and then I will be celebrating with my family and some friends as well. So I'll be having a good dawn. I'll be getting up very early for the solstice. There we go. And I'll have that private ceremony, and then I will be celebrating. We love celebrating the solstice as well. You have the ceremony, but you have the celebration and the fun of the longest day of the year, followed by midsummer.
Yes. Yes. And Midsummer's Dream, all the fairies running around. What a delightful idea, right? Okay, well, thank you so much, Maria. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, everybody, and have a beautiful and blessed day. Let me know what else you need, and we will be back in a day or two, I think, with the spiritual weather report, and we will do a little bit. You're so welcome, Mark. Thank you. I don't know if you know Mark Rogalski.
Yes, he's been on a few trips with me.
Oh, okay. I got the feeling he knew you. Yes.
Egypt, England,
Oh,
Malta.
Malta. Yeah, that sounds amazing. I got to go there with you too. But okay.
Okay, then.
Namaste, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.